Hello everyone, welcome back to the Curly Computer Engineer channel, and I see the new subscribers. I appreciate all of you. It helps motivate me to do more things. So if you would, and you haven't visited the channel before and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe, of course, if you like it, and so I can do more stuff like this. It motivates me to do it and makes me feel good about doing it. So I appreciate that. So today we're going to get into some Wi-Fi ethical hacking. I'm going to do some hacking with Kali Linux. We're going to show you how easy it is for a hacker over the air to get access to your password on your Wi-Fi router. So that's what we're going to do today. So I hope that's something you're interested in. I think it's a good lesson to be learned to help you change your password, maybe make it a little stronger. So we're going to get into it right now. So with all that being said, let's do it.
Component TV is here, and it may make the set you're watching now as obsolete as an old hi-fi. Welcome.
Okay, so here we are. We have Kali Linux. Now this is, if you don't know what Kali Linux is, it's a special version of Linux that includes all the tools for pen testing. If you don't know what pen testing is, just short for penetration testing, and it's an operating system used for cybersecurity reasons. So I have to reiterate that what I'm showing you here today is you can get in trouble if you're using it illegally, but this is for educational purposes, just to give you an example of how easy it is for a hacker to get into your Wi-Fi. And so that's what we're doing today. Now I do have my own Wi-Fi network that I'm doing this on, so I'm not doing it on any of the neighbors or anybody's Wi-Fi. I've set up my own access point. We're going to go into that right now, and I'm going to just set a simple password in there. Just let me expand this window here, and I'm going to go into my wireless. And you can see here's my access point. There's the name of it here. There's the channel. I'm on channel 6. And I'm going to go into wireless security here, and I'm going to show you my password here. And I'm just going to put a password. We'll just put Fuzzy Bear. And I'm going to save it. So again, this is my Wi-Fi access point, and I'm going to be doing all the hacking on this unit here. So I'm going to close out of here. I'm done there. Now next thing I want to do is load up my terminal. I'll load up a terminal. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to show my Wi-Fi adapters. Now on my computer I have a Wi-Fi adapter built into it. If you didn't have one, you'd have to get a Wi-Fi adapter, a USB adapter, and I'll show you on the screen here what kind of adapter you would get. But the adapter has to support injection mode and monitor mode. So I'm going to go type iwconfig here, and under Linux that's going to show you your wireless connections. So you can see here I have WLAN 0. So that's my Wi-Fi connection. Now to get this started, we have to start the adapter. I'm going to type replay -ng and you can see already it doesn't let me do it because I didn't do a sudo. And sudo is super user do, and that lets you run things as the administrator without actually being the administrator. So it's good practice to do that. So what I'm going to do here is do sudo, and I'm going to actually I could just kind of use my arrow keys here, and this is your history, so it saves you a lot of typing when you have to type a lot of things here. I'm just going to put sudo in front, put my password in. Now right there it tells me that my injection is working, and it's going to go ahead and read some of the Wi-Fi access points in the area. You can see we already have a bunch of them here that it's kind of jumping through. And you're going to see these numbers here, which are the MAC addresses. And we're going to need those. Now, a good research tool to use is sometimes we want to know what kind of hardware that is. So what we can do is go in, and it doesn't always tell you when you search for it, but we'll try it anyway. Most of the time it will. There's a website you can go to and enter those MAC addresses. So I'm just going to hit Control C here, exit out so I can get up here and copy and paste this. Here's my network here, my Wi-Fi. You can see it's running on channel 6, just like we looked at in the configuration page. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm just going to go to my Firefox here, and I'll go to Google, and I'll just type in MAC address lookup. And we come to a page, and we can paste the MAC address in here. And you can see here that it's telling me it's a Cisco Linksys device. Now every device that communicates is going to have a MAC address, and they're all registered. So this is a tool you can use to kind of find out what you're dealing with as far as the hardware. So we know we're working with a Cisco Linksys. So whether that's handy or not at this point really depends on what you're looking for, but it's all part of the research. Okay, so now let's continue here. So what I need to do first is I need to put my Wi-Fi adapter in monitor mode. And so how you do that is we're going to go in here. We have to start the adapter. So I'm going to type sudo airmon-ng start WLAN 0. Of course, that's the interface of our wireless adapter. So once I do that, you're going to see a physical address here. You see my interface here, which we looked at earlier with the IW config. That's our wireless adapter here. We've got a driver here, and it's going to tell you the make and model of your adapter. And more importantly here, it tells us that monitor mode is enabled. So we're good to go. We have monitor mode enabled. We're ready to scan for some networks. So my next command here, I'm just going to do a clear. And I'm going to do a sudo arrow dump ng, and I'm going to use my adapter name, which is WLAN 0, of course. And now you're going to see here it's going to go through a scan of the area in the neighborhood. It's going to show me all of the Wi-Fi networks that are up right now. So here we have the MAC address. These would be the MAC addresses of their Wi-Fi router or the access point. We have the power level, and typically anything above 70 is kind of it's going to be a weaker signal, so you're looking for a lower one here. Now you can see my test Wi-Fi right here. You can see it's -35, so that's a pretty strong signal. So this is basically the signal strength here. The beacons are going to be, Wi-Fi is always sending out beacons. Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Is there anything to connect to? Anything want to connect to me? So that's what these are. Now data could be useful because it shows that these networks are in use somehow. If you see data, for instance this one, you see that there's data. It's obviously connected to something. And down here you're going to see a station address. Now it's kind of misleading because the station here is going to be a device like a phone, a laptop, an iPad, tablets, things like that. And this address here is going to be the access point. So I can see already that this device here, this access point, has a device paired to it. So somebody's got this device, like I said, either a phone, tablet, or whatnot, and they're connected to this access point. So if I look at my list, I look at the MAC address 14:21, I could see it's this one. Let's see, where are we? 14:21, C1 is the last one, so right here. This is the device here. If we look over, it says Venom. So there's somebody connected with a device to this Venom access point. But again, we're not concerned about that. We're not here to get into anybody's Wi-Fi. We're here to just test the Wi-Fi station that I had set up for this test. So we're focused on this BC net. So now we just want to scan the BC net. But with communication devices, they perform what's called a handshake, where it sends out a thing, hey, I'm here, do you want to talk? Then the receiving station says, sure, we'll talk, and then it's going to ask for a password, and then your phone or device, tablet, whatnot, sends out that password over the air to the access point. Now, I'm going to show you that. We're going to get deeper into that in a minute, but first let me hit Control-C here. And what I'm going to do is I'm concentrating on my test network right here. So I'm going to copy and paste. I need to copy this MAC address here because we're going to have to use it because we want to focus just on that network. That's the one I'm targeting. That's the one the hacker's targeting. So we're going to look at that. It's BC-net. All right, so we have our MAC address copied. And I'll just show you a directory here. We're going to do an ls, and you're going to see a bunch of capture files in here. And the capture files are the data that's being captured from the air. And that's important because when you're actually hacking a Wi-Fi network, you're not hacking it directly. You're kind of doing an offline hack. And you're going to see here there's a rock.utxt, and that's a word list. And word lists are used by hackers because they contain passwords that have worked in the past, and they just keep adding to the file. Now I'll go ahead and just do a Pico, or you can do a Nano. They're the same thing. I'm going to show you this rock.utxt file, and this is a word list, and this is going to have all the passwords in it. And eventually what we're going to be doing is using this password list to go through each password on this network, and it's going to try each one. So I'll show you kind of what's in the file here, and you're going to see it's just there's thousands of passwords that have worked in the past. And what the hackers do is they just keep a list of it, and if something works, they'll add it to the list. So this is constantly being updated. But you can see there's a bunch of different passwords in here. I could scroll through here forever. So I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to hit Control-C to get out of there. And what I want to do is, these capture files are old, so I want to remove. I just want to remove them because I want to start off fresh. I don't need any of them. So I'm going to remove capture star, and that'll just basically wipe every one of these out. I'm just going to say yes. Now if I do an ls, you can see here, let me just clear the screen. If I do an ls, you can see I don't have any more capture files. So that's what I want. I don't want any more. So what we want to do is we want to focus just on that BC net, because that's the one I want to hack. I want to get the password to that one. So to do that, we need to type a command here. We're going to do an arrow dump ng --bssid 7f and we're going to do a -c 6 because that's the channel that the Wi-Fi is on. You have to specify the channel, and you'll get that from that previous list that we looked at when we were scanning. And we're going to do a -w, and we're going to do capture.cap, and that's going to be the file that it's going to capture all the data from, or to. It's going to look through the air, and it's going to write into this capture file kind of the communications that it's doing over the air. And then we're going to put WLAN 0. Of course, I forgot to put the sudo in front of it. Sudo is, of course, again, super user do, so we can run this with administrative rights. Now you can see I'm just focused on my wireless network here. You can see the channel here is 6, and it's constantly sending out beacons. Now if you notice here, there's no information down here because I'm not connected to the network right now. But I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you what happens. And up here, you're going to see it's going to say handshake. And that's what we're looking for, because at that point, that's when we're connecting and our password is being transmitted over the air. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm on my phone here. I'm going to connect to it, and I want you to look at the top of the screen here on what happens. I'm going to enter my password, which I set to Fuzzy Bear. Now you can see what happened up here. I have a handshake. This here is my Wi-Fi station. Right here is the device. So now we have a device that's connected to it. So I have the handshake information. I could easily get the password right now. But what if this was already connected and we want to start this handshake process again? Because most of the time, if somebody reboots their device, whether it's a tablet, laptop, it's going to go ahead and do another handshake once it boots up and the device wants to reconnect to the Wi-Fi. But if it's already connected, we can either wait for this to happen to get the handshake, and in that handshake is going to be the password, which is now stored in that capture file. So there's another method we can use, and I'm just going to disconnect from the network here real quick. I'm going to show you if it's already connected, we need to get a handshake. And so what we're going to have to do is boot them off. We're going to run a command that's going to actually boot the device, whether it's a laptop, etc., phone. We're going to boot it off momentarily. We're going to deauthorize it from their Wi-Fi. And what that'll do is start the handshake process again. Okay, so I've showed you the example if somebody's device was already connected to an access point. And I wanted to give you that example of the handshake because that's what we're looking for. What's going to happen is when it performs that handshake, the password is going to be in the capture file. It's going to be encrypted, but there will be a password in there. And like I said, most of the time that's going to occur when either somebody reboots their device, whether it's a phone, tablet, laptop, or somebody comes over to the house and says, hey, can I use your Wi-Fi? And somebody joins the Wi-Fi by entering the password, because that's what it's looking for, that handshake. So what if they're already connected and you want to get the password? Well, you could wait for it, and that could take some time. The odds of them rebooting, obviously those things happen, but you're going to have to wait for it. But there is a way we can force it to disconnect momentarily. We can force that device to disconnect from the access point enough where it's going to reestablish another handshake. Because it disconnects, it's going to try to reconnect, because that's what Wi-Fi does, and it's going to send the password again. So how do we do that? Well, first we have to have this window up and running. So I'm going to go ahead and run this command again, so we have an active connection here. And I want to wait for the BSS ID and the station to pop up. That's going to be my test phone that I'm using, and it's going to be my access point. And so there it is. You can see we have a power of -38. We know that this is the device. So now we're going to use another command, and I want you to watch up here when I run this command. And then we're going to we should have that password in the capture file. And we're going to run that capture file against the word list, and hopefully we'll come up with that password. So what I want to do here is I'm opening another terminal window. You want to leave this one running, let it do its thing. And we're going to go ahead and type a command here to deauthorize this device from here. It's just going to interrupt the connection enough where it'll start that handshake again. So let's do that right here. So I'm going to do sudo replay ng. I'm going to do -0, which means deauthorize. We'll send about 10. We'll send about 10 of them that way. We're going to do a -a and the BSS ID we need. So I'm just going to go ahead and type it because I don't have it in the clipboard right now. And then we need -c, which is the station ID. So we need that, which is going to be their device. Like I said, and I know I keep repeating myself, but it's going to be a phone, a laptop, tablet, etc. So we're going to type that in. And we're going to type the interface WLAN 0. Now I want you to watch up here. If we get lucky and we are successful in disconnecting their phone or whatever from their access point, it's going to reestablish a handshake, and then it'll pop up here. Now we do have this running against a capture.cap file, which I showed you before, so it's recording all of this right now to that file that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and let's see what happens up here. You can see it's sending deauth codes to it. Now you can see up here our deauth was successful. We managed to boot the device off of their access point, and now it has a handshake here. It's detected a handshake. So now we can close this out, and if we do an ls, we can see we have these capture files here. So now our next step is we want to use this ROCU file, and we want to do a scan against it and see if it'll give us the password. So again, we're not doing anything. We're not connecting to anybody's network. This is all done offline. We've just captured into a file the password because of the handshake that we forced the device to perform. Alright, so the next thing we want to do here is we want to run the ROCU.txt word list against our capture file, because that's where the password should be. So we're going to do that here using a command aircrack. So we're going to do sudo aircrack ng. We're going to specify -w, which means word list. So we're going to do ROCU.txt, and I'm going to do a capture.cap. And I'm just going to do a star so that it searches through all of the capture files that I have in there. So we're going to go ahead and run that now. And with any luck, it's going to come up and tell us what the password is. So that really didn't take long. You can see it's telling us here that my password is Fuzzy Bear, and that's exactly what I set it to in my Wi-Fi router. So you can see how easy that is to crack a password. In most cases, it could take a half an hour, it could take a very long time, but this is very fast. You know, it went through a bunch of passwords to get to this one. So that's an example of how easy it is to get into somebody's Wi-Fi network using these tools. So while we're here, I want to do one more example. We're going to go ahead and go into the my Wi-Fi router again. And I'm going to go into wireless, and we're actually going to change the password, and we're just going to do it one more time. So I'm going to sign in here. I'm going to go into wireless security, and you can see there's my Fuzzy Bear password. So what I'd like to do is just pick one that's further down the list. So I'm going to try to go in here. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to go to an ls here, and I'm just doing nano again at the ROCU.txt file, which is our password list. It's a fairly large list. And let's say we're going to set it to Caitlin4. This is a password that's in this word list file, and it's towards the bottom of the file, so it should take a little bit longer to find it. So Caitlin4. So we'll go over to our Wi-Fi router again, and I'm going to type that in here. I'm going to apply the settings here. So now we have our Wi-Fi security set up. We have our password in there. We can control X out of here. We'll do a clear. And I want to go back here because I want to rerun this again. And I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the capture files here. There we go. So we have no more capture files. I'm going to go ahead and start the arrow dump again on that bc.net network, just like this. I'm going to go into my phone here. You can see here that it's already associated with the access point. Alright, so now it's scanning that again. We have some capture files that have been created here. Now we're going to go ahead and try to force the disconnection again. We're going to try to send deauth codes to it and see if we can get the connection to reconnect and get the handshake. So we're going to run this command here, the air eplay-ng. Deauth will send about 10 interruptions to it. We have the address, the BSSID, which is the access point, and of course the device that's connected to it, and our interface. So we're going to go ahead and press enter here. And you can see here that we've made it reestablish a connection to their access point. So we have the handshake now. So we're done with this. We can hit Control X or Control C. We can quit there. And now we're ready again to run the scan on our capture files. If we do an LS, you can see we have the capture files. So let me just clear the screen here, and we're going to go ahead and run get to the right command here. We're going to run our aircrack.ng again with the rock.utxt file, and it's going to read the capture file. So I'm going to press enter here, and with any luck we're going to come up with the Caitlin4 password. Now this might take a little bit longer only because that password was at the end of the file that we were using. So we'll let this go a minute. And you can see how it's checking all the passphrases against the capture file. So this is a method that hackers use to crack passwords. There's basically pre-made files that already have a bunch of passwords in them, and it's just constantly checking it against the capture file. So this is all done offline. It's not like you're attacking their network directly or their Wi-Fi. You've already read into the capture file because of the handshake. So that's what we're looking for here. So I'm going to let this continue to run, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, you can see so far it's been running for 7 minutes 40 seconds. It's about 23% through the wordlist file already. It has not found the password yet, so we're just going to let it run a little longer. We'll let it, of course, run all the way until the end, which, like I said, can take a number of minutes or could take a half an hour. Really depends on your computer. It depends on how hard the password is, or even if the password exists in the wordlist file. We don't know that, but there are several different word lists that can be downloaded online that are added to all the time. And that's why I have to reiterate it's so important to make your password something a little more complex. And this is kind of what I did this video for, is just to make sure that you make it a little more complex, because it's the simple passwords that are super easy to crack. Okay, you can see that it's all done. It took about 5 minutes and 8 seconds to track down the password. The password, of course, Caitlin4, that's what we set in our Wi-Fi router. And as you can see, it really didn't take long to get the password from that capture file that we captured from the over-the-air handshake. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something from it. You know, there's different Wi-Fi encryption methods. I think they started off with, it was WEP, and then of course WPA, WPA1, 2, and I think they're up to 3 now. Now the only issue is a lot of routers and devices aren't up to snuff with WPA3 yet. It's a little harder to crack into WPA3. They've improved it as they go along. So if I was you, I would more than likely try to get a WPA3 encrypted router But the only thing is a lot of devices don't support it. Like for instance, if you have a Roku, it might only still do WPA2. So in order to use WPA3, both the device that you're connecting to and the device that you have, like say whether it's a phone or a tablet or Roku devices around the house, have to support the WPA3. So that's something you can look into. But also just making sure that your password is a little better than the passwords I showed you in this example. More often than not, it's because people use simple, easy to remember passwords. So just try to make your password a little longer. Put some uppercase and lowercase characters in there, some numbers, some symbols and things like that, and you're probably going to be okay. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye.